ora everyone, and welcome to this webinar where we dive into fruit logistica. I am your host, Kylie Horomia. I am the Growth and Transformation Manager for AgriTech New Zealand. If you don't know who we are an independent, member-funded organisation. Our mission is to unleash the full potential of AgriTech within the New Zealand industry. And we do that by advocating for collaboration, global growth, and creating new value through unique technology exports. So I want to welcome all of our members who have joined us. Without your ongoing support, we would not be able to do the work that we do. So thank you very much. I also have to give a huge shout out to the German New Zealand Chamber of Commerce, who have sponsored this webinar and who have loaned me the awesome Erin Daly, who is on one of our panelists today. We will be taking questions, so if you have one throughout, feel free to drop it in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and I will try and address them as we go along. So let's dive into it. I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, give me a really quick elevator pitch of the organisation, and just mention how often they've attended Fruit Logistica. So I'm going to start with Erin. Take it away, Erin.
Kia ora, guten Tag. So I'm Erin. I'm from the German New Zealand Chamber of Commerce. We are a little bit like NZTE, but our head office sits in Berlin. We are in 90 countries, and we are your official representative for anything to do with trade with Germany. So if you're a New Zealand company looking to enter the German market, German company looking to set up a subsidiary here or find partners, that's what we do. That's our sweet spot. Fruit Logistica might seem like a bit of an odd thing for us to be doing, but trade fairs actually began in Germany back in 1150 AD in the middle of the Black Plague. They've been running with them ever since, and 60 million people attend trade fairs in Germany every year. Fruit Logistica is the most important one for the New Zealand market. And I'm really happy to say I'm the New Zealand representative for Fruit Logistica and Asia Fruit Logistica, and two shows I absolutely love.
Thank you, Erin. And look, I am hugely biased. I've worked with the German New Zealand Chamber of Commerce now for quite a few years, and it is a fantastic team. So honestly, really open, get in touch with them if you need to know anything in that region. So my next guest is the wonderful Sarah McCormack. So Sarah, if you want to jump in and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah McCormack. I'm the CEO of Te Mate Exports. I'm coming to you this morning from the beautiful Hawke's Bay region of New Zealand. Te Mate Exports was founded in Hawke's Bay in 2000, predominantly as an apple export company, as you can probably guess from my background. In the last 5 years, we've become an international trading company. We have staff based in Victoria and Queensland in Australia, as well as in Japan and Vietnam, and we also have a partnership in South America. So basically, we source fresh produce from around the Pacific Rim region and export all over the world. Asia is our biggest market. I have been in the fresh produce export game for my entire career. Prior to Te Mate Exports, I spent most of my career at Delica and TNG, where I met the lovely Kylie. So I have attended pretty much every single Asia Fruit Logistica trade fair since the beginning, which, if I remember correctly, was in Bangkok in maybe 2007 or 2008. And I have also attended several Fruit Logisticas in Berlin. So I'm very happy to be here today to share my experiences and hopefully some handy tips for everyone as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. I did promise some awesome leadership and insights from people, and I brought it today. And last but definitely not least is the fantastic Lotte Bayly. Lotte, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Kylie. Yes, so my name is Lotte Bayly. I'm the Global Sales Director at WayBeyond. WayBeyond is a AgTech company. We are sort of still in the startup phase, although we've been going for a number of years now, but we have been participating in Fruit Logistica Berlin as a startup company, growing our business overseas. So we're predominantly, all of our customers are based overseas. We've got staff in Mexico and Morocco, which are two of our biggest markets. We develop digital agronomy solutions to improve crop management practices and outcomes for protected crop growers. And the insights that our customers get from our platform Farm Road enable our customers to consistently produce better seeds and higher yields of fruit and vegetables. We specialize in vine crops and berries. And as I mentioned, markets for us are Latin America and Morocco and Africa and Spain. So really big markets for us that where we see a huge representation in Berlin every year. So yeah, I'm excited just to share my experiences as both a startup business going to Fruit Logistica in Berlin and a more established business with pre-existing connections and customers.
Thank you, Lotte. All right, so I felt we have to do this in a chronological order because, you know, for people that have never been to Fruit Logistica, they may not necessarily understand that it is not a pull-up banner and a collapsible table outfit. And so there is a bit of a lead up. So if we look at before you even attend Fruit Logistica, what is actually on your to-do list? And I'm going to start with you, Sarah. What's on your to-do list before you've even gone?
Well, for us, it's a bit different with Asia Fruit Logistica versus Fruit Logistica, because at Asia Fruit Logistica, we have a stand, which is part of the New Zealand Pavilion. So that requires quite a lot more preparation in terms of the stand design, doing artwork, etc., etc. So if I look at this year, Asia Fruit Logistica is the first week of September. We started working on the stand right back in February. We actually started talking to hotels in April because they get booked up very quickly. And then we started organising meetings with customers probably from the end of June or beginning of July, I want to say. So there's a lot of preparation involved, and it's really important to make sure that you get the most out of this opportunity to be super prepared. You need to have those meetings locked in with customers. You need to think about who you want to have your meaningful meetings with, get them locked in, think about where you're going to have those meetings, who you want to have your dinners with, and get those all booked in as well, because both Hong Kong and Berlin get very booked up at that time of the year. So you need to make sure you get in early in terms of your hotels, your restaurants, and also getting the meetings with your key customers as well.
So Lotte, I'm guessing you're the same here in that you've got a big list of to-do. Are there additional things there that you also do?
Yeah, I'm sitting here nodding my head because there's so much of what Sarah says that I agree with. I think the first year we went to Fruit Logistica as a startup, you know, we were really surprised by how fully booked a lot of our target customers already were before we got there. We were also surprised by, so at that time we only had 3 people attending, and all 3 of us were in sales, and it really meant that we didn't have enough time to walk the floors and scout for new opportunities, as well as man our stand and attend talks. And so, but also the customers that we were targeting, it was a real struggle for us to actually get any of their time because they had already pre-arranged all of their meetings before attending. So that was a surprise to us. So the next year we did better. We organized a lot more pre-scheduled meetings with target customers. We sent out a lot more marketing collateral to entice customers to come to our stand before the event as well. We really start planning for this in October, and then we ramp up in November. But in the second year when we attended, I do have another tip on that, because we found that we didn't leave enough space between meetings to allow for meetings running over time, as they often do. Or someone will come to one of your target customers' stands, because most of them are exhibitors too. And so someone will come to their stand, and then it's a customer that fits within their target market. So of course they're not going to leave that to have a meeting with someone else. And so we found out very quickly that actually we needed more time allowed on either side of meetings and more flexibility. So last year when we went, we became super organized, and we started using WhatsApp a lot more. WhatsApp is an absolute must. No one's checking emails at Fruit Logistica. It's so busy, and all the business is done on day 1 and 2. And if you haven't booked your meetings in with your target customers before you go, chances are that you will only have a short window at around 5 o'clock to meet with them before they head out to pre-arranged customer meetings and dinners.
So Lottie, I mean, Sarah mentioned that she lines this up, you know, like the hotels and the dinners and that quite far ahead. Was it the same for you? Like, when did you start getting in touch with your potential meeting people?
We will start to ramp up that in November. So we will we usually book an Airbnb. For us, we prefer all to be able to stay together in a large house, because the reality is that once we come home from dinners and meetings all day, we're not going out anyway. We're just going to have some takeaways and go to bed and get ready for the next day. For us, it's easier for all of us to stay together in a large Airbnb. We found that works really well for us. Some people might prefer hotels, in which case you definitely need to start booking them now. The meetings, we will start to book in, sort of gauge who's going. We sort of already know now, because it's not our first time at Fruit Logistica, so we already know who's going to be there. But for new target accounts, we will start to entertain setting up meetings with them in early January, if not even earlier. We'll probably send some EDMs out in December.
Awesome. So, I mean, look, for those of you who've never been and are thinking about exhibiting, straight off the bat there, we've just learned that, you know, there was a 3 years to sort of get your mojo and get your feet under you there. So, you know, these are some excellent tips and tricks that are being shared. Erin, have you got anything to add that might have been missed by either Sarah or Lottie?
I think both ladies did a really good job of explaining what needs to be done. I would just say be really intentional, you know, have a strategy in place. You know, what are the outcomes? How are you going to get your return on investment? What does that look like for you, so that you can start planning early and, you know, really figure out, you know, identify and target who you want to have those meetings with. Walk-ins are just the cherry on top. They are not the whole show. Maybe one other thing that you might want to look at as well is your IP. So you really want to get that filed before the show. So make sure you're filing any IP before you leave, and that could be patents, trademarks, design and utility models, and bring evidence of your rights with you. And then, you know, on day 2 of the show, I'd be walking around and seeing if anything is popping up that looks suspiciously similar to your own product, because it's global. You know, you've got visitors from 140 markets there. I do find Kiwis tend to be a little bit naive and assume, you know, everything will be good and it's all handshake deals, but you have to really protect your rights.
Fantastic. And look, it isn't all cherry blossoms and pit fruit, and yes, you know, your intellectual property is hugely important, so that is a really, really good reminder to sort of protect yourself. So that was obviously the lead up, and we have talked a little bit about on the day, but are there, you know, and this one's for you, Sarah, I mean, do you actually legitimately get a chance to go around and look at the exhibitions, or is it all meetings?
I generally don't, except for maybe the Friday afternoon, or else if I'm on my way to another meeting. But no, generally Wednesday and Thursday especially are just kind of back-to-back meetings. So I don't get a lot of time to go and have a look. That's in Asia Fruit Logistica, where we have our own stand. When I go to Fruit Logistica in Berlin, I do several kilometres every day, because it's a massive hall that the fair's in Messe Berlin, and you do walk a lot of miles, so you get to see a lot of the fair as you're walking between meetings.
I did. So obviously, for those of you that know me, it was my first time attending a Fruit Logistica this year in February, and I went to Berlin. And before I left, Erin had given me some great advice around sticky plasters and comfortable footwear. And I thought, and then she knew exactly what she was talking about. This is not a high-heeled gig. And I was pretty much lost for 2.5 days, because it is massive. And I knew exactly who I wanted to talk to. I just couldn't find them. Because it is the rabbit warren. So yeah, you have to build in time to get between locations as well, because it's not like there's you know, a car or a driver or a golf cart that's going to get you there. So no, that is brilliant. And during the event, I mean, Lottie, what do you guys, other than the meetings? I mean, it's all meetings, obviously, but did you find that you got a chance to go and explore?
Not really. I will say that this year we had a very strong delegation of 7 staff members that attended, which allowed us in sales to free up more time to conduct our meetings and not so much man the stand. So we did have some good opportunities to walk the stands, but we were still very focused in where we were going and who we were targeting. So we already knew who were exhibiting and which ones of those companies fits within our ideal customer profile. And so we were able to go and target them directly rather than just casually walk the floors and see what was available. Of course, once we're in that area and you know that it's an area where your target customers are exhibiting, you do find other potential target customers that you weren't necessarily aware of because they're in the same hall. And so there was a little bit of that, like we would go and explore the Mexican hall, the Moroccan hall, of course, key markets for us, and see if there were any customers that we weren't aware of. But we did allow time for our product guys to do market research in both, you know, the competitive landscape as well as collaboration opportunities. And just finding out what's out there and what's innovative. And of course, it's a bit of a area of interest for a lot of our product guys too. They wanted to go and have a look at what's new in robotics and AI and things like that. And so there was we did allow for a bit of time for that. But for us in sales, it's just so busy with back-to-back meetings now.
So, I mean, that is one of the things I do want to highlight for our AgriTech businesses out there is a dedicated technology hall. So the thing that you need to know is that you actually don't get to choose where in which hall you exhibit in. It's assigned to you depending on your type of business and what you've got to offer. And the thing I do like is there is a technology hall. So, you know, you will be surrounded in other tech. And I think that's a great thing because it means that anyone who's specifically looking for technology will be able to come and find you a lot easier. And I mean, Erin, you're slightly different because you hang out with the Messy Berlin team and the Fruit Logistica organizers when you're there. I mean, what does it look like for you? Because obviously you're there representing the New Zealand, you know, German business Chamber of Commerce. So, you know, what does your day look like?
Well, I usually leave around 6:30 in the morning, get to the show quite early. I walk around the exhibitors, make sure everything's okay. I'm usually there a couple of days in advance to check all the stands. We've had years where they've put the signage back to front or they haven't installed lighting. In fact, I think that might have been WayBeyond, Lotte. So I go through and I take photos of them all. I send them all to the exhibitors, make sure everything's right. Then, you know, the show opens around 9 or 10 a.m. I'd have to check that, and then it's all go. So I'm trying to get feedback and check in with the exhibitors before they're busy. And like Lottie says, it is. I'd go past the stand and there would be a queue of people wanting to talk to them. So it's, you know, you really have to be organized and have your water bottles filled and have some snacks. You might not have any chance to get away from your stand. But then I'm walking the halls. I'm also visiting other companies that are interested in entering the New Zealand market from Germany. Then I'm usually there to the end of the day, and then it usually goes off into the networking. So a typical day could be 17, 18 hours, and you do it for a whole week, and then I have a couple of days off and I'll go to another trade show. But it's so much fun because you just see all of these amazing deals going through. You know, I pop in, I'd see Hector, and they're like, yeah, we just hit our ROI in the first hour of the show. And, you know, you just hear these amazing stories. You know, it's very formal in Berlin, I think, compared to Asia Fruit Logistica, where you can just wear business attire. Berlin is like, you'll be wearing your gym shoes for the comfort, but everyone's in a full suit. Even if you're wearing your branded t-shirts, you'll be having a suit jacket over that. It is very much B2B. It is 80% C-suite decision makers. And I think that's what's so great about the show is it is the most impactful show. It is where you're going to find your partners. So we see really great things, but it is really long days. So those blister stickers and comfy shows, that's no joke. You need those.
All right, so you mentioned a bit of ROI. So Sarah, let's talk about return on investment, because obviously, you know, being down in New Zealand, it's a longer haul for us to get anywhere.
Yes.
And, you know, they're all sort of things that you've got to build in, right, around your costs and things like that. So for you, what does return on investment look like?
Well, I guess the companies that I'm working for are not, they're quite well-established companies. So we're not really going there to look for a lot of new customers. It's really about strengthening our relationships with our existing customers and also maintaining our profile and raising our profile. So for me, at various times, it's been a good opportunity for us to maybe do some kind of announcement, like launch a new variety. I'll often do a couple of interviews with various publications, industry publications before going, make some kind of announcement, meet with maybe some of the top leaders of organisations who maybe haven't met before. So it's more about that for us. It is a big investment, and often what we'll try to do is to tag on a trip to a market before or after the show as well, so that you're really getting the best bang for your buck. The only thing I would say around that, particularly with Asia Fruit Logistica, is that a lot of companies are trying to do the same thing. So if you decide, I'm going to go and do a trip to Vietnam before going to Hong Kong, you'll find that your customers are already busy seeing a whole lot of people from other countries as well. But where possible, we try to do that as well.
Yeah. So not only you're having to organise what you're doing there, but you're also organising your pre or post trip with people. But I mean, so Sarah, does that you know, that's obviously a bit of work, but is it a case of you're kind of locked into going now, because you know you mentioned a lot of it is strengthening relationships. If you decide not to turn up, I mean, what kind of messaging does that actually send to your customers?
Well, I think people just would question why. There's something going on. You're right. It's just got to the point where we have to be there. We just have to be there. And it's great. I mean, every year we say, oh, we don't need any new customers, but something will pop up, and someone will come along that you haven't met before, and we always get exciting new opportunities present themselves at these fairs that we didn't foresee. So it's worthwhile going, without a doubt.
Yeah. So anyone, I mean, it is one of those things, right? You've got to have that long-term vision to know that, you know, once you go once, you do actually need to repeat to build the relationships. But once you build the relationship, you've still got to stay there. I mean, I was talking to one of the Zespri team, you know, when I was in Berlin, and they've been exhibiting for like 20 years or something like that. And it is a case of they have to stay there because it is a relationship game that they have to see their market. So yeah, don't think you're going to get in once and then build your pipeline and then that's it for you for the rest of the time. So
the only other thing I'd say, Kylie, as well, is that it's a good way to get information about what your competitors are doing as well. You know, especially for us to go to Berlin beginning of February, that's just as our New Zealand apple season is about to begin. So you get a really good amount of information about what's happened with the European season, how that went, and then you get a lot of information about what's happening with other Southern Hemisphere producers as well. So it's a really great information gathering exercise as well.
Awesome. And what about you, Lotte? What does the ROI look like for you?
So the ROI for us is really around brand awareness, elevating our brand, getting that massive exposure to a lot of our target markets around branding. We do often try and launch something new at Fruit Logistica as well. So if we've got a new feature, a new product that's about ready for launch, say around December, January, we will absolutely delay it so that we can do a proper launch in conjunction with all the exposure around Fruit Logistica. The ROI for us, in addition to the marketing collateral and the marketing exposure that we get, we always try and get a speaker slot on the tech stage or on the vegetable stage. So there's a number of different forums for us, but there is one in particular that can be really useful for startup companies on the smart tech stage. So there's a specific one for startup, and then there's another one for smart technology. So there's a couple of opportunities if you're in technology. There's opportunities for whether you're a grower or whatever it is that your business is within agriculture. There's a stage for everything, right? Get yourself a speaker slot if you're exhibiting, because that in itself, we actually get really strong leads from that and really good exposure. You also end up with a copy of the video that you can use for further marketing collateral and exposure, and it's promoted through the Fruit Logistica website as well, so people online can also see it. That's been really good for us. And of course, like Sarah, with all of our pre-existing meetings, you know, having all global customers, it's not always that easy for us to sit down and do planning sessions with them, certainly not face-to-face. We utilize Fruit Logistica as a forum for us to sit down and do planning for the year ahead with our key customers, find out what's going on, what's important to our customers and what they're launching as well. What are they focused on? How does that work in with what we're working on? And so it's not just all about new leads and progressing existing deals, which is something that we are also focused on doing. We often end up with a number of both verbal and signed agreements at Fruit Logistica, but it's really around doing that sort of quarterly or annually business review with existing customers too. If I need to put some numbers around the ROI, if I look at how we did in, say, 2023, where we came back with a total of 51 leads, and we had one of the smaller stands that we'd had the year previously. I can't quite remember how many staff we sent that year, but I want to say about 4. And we came back with 51 leads, which for us at the time was pretty good, but we felt we could do even better. We felt we'd built up enough brand awareness to go larger for the next year. So this year, 2024, we went for I think it was 6x4 meter stand, so a reasonable site. Because we had participated for a number of years, we were able to get a really good location as well, with really good visual aspects of the stand. We sent 7 people, so we had a nice, decent sized stand. And enough staff to handle all aspects of our business. And we came away with 163 leads, where 140 something of those sat right in our ideal customer profile, so within our target market. A number of those were collaboration opportunities, but the majority of those, so 140 something, were actual target customers that we could then work with to fill our pipeline for the coming year. So do you want me to tell you a little bit about the money that we spent?
Oh, yeah, okay, go for it, yeah.
So the stand to build all the marketing and collateral that you need to build a good stand cost us about New Zealand $35,000. Bearing in mind that we do bring merchandise, so some decent swag as well, which is something that you actually don't see a lot of in Germany. Most stands just have pens, if anything, or some key rings and stuff. So we found that often our merchandise will go like hotcakes, especially our water bottles. Our thermal water bottles have been super popular. So you do also have to protect that, because you'll get a lot of people that are not in your target market coming to try and get merchandise. So we have, you know, merchandise that's specifically for our target customers, gifts for customers, and then we have merchandise that we can just leave on the stand that anyone's welcome to help themselves to. And then we have some that we give once we've qualified an opportunity sits within our target market. So we have sort of 3 tiers of merchandise to give away. But so about $35,000 for the stand. We also provide water, coffee, wine and beer at the end of the day at our stand. And we bring New Zealand lollies and other goodies to share out as well. And then roughly the cost for sending 7 people was about $35,000 all up as well. Probably made a little bit cheaper by us staying in an Airbnb together. For 7 people, that would be a huge cost in hotel. And Airbnb certainly makes it more cost effective. So yeah, around 70,000 all up.
So, but I mean, you know, when you mentioned that you got like 140 potential customers in the pipeline, you know, if you think back to the time and energy it would take to actually promote or market or advertise to 140 of those people, but you got them in 1 week,
Yes.
It's probably a good trade-off, right?
2 days.
Yeah.
Obviously, within the 140 odd leads, there were some that we were already well aware of and might even have been talking to, but who approached us, and we were able to shift the conversation into the next stage in the sales pipeline. And we had customers that we had been working with for a while that we were able to progress those deals to the stage of where we're actually going, okay, well, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to agree to do. Sending you the contract to sign now. So there were that level in that stage in the sales pipeline as well.
Awesome. And I know that based on my experience, just attending is really affordable. Like a ticket is, I don't know, it was like 20 or 30 euro or something, or it was much cheaper than, you know, any other trade show that I'd ever attended, to be fair. And I know that I mean, you know, WayBeyond had a double the size of you know, a stand and obviously 7 people, but I think your basic stand cost is, you know, is probably half of that, you know, and not as much swag, and so you can do it for an affordable rate. It is basically the cost to get there, and, you know, flights and that will eat into your budget. Erin, do you have any, you know, have you seen some really good ROI figures or what those numbers might look like for New Zealand companies going?
Yeah, I have, but we're not really allowed to disclose that information, unfortunately. However, I can tell you that our exhibitors just keep coming back. They all tell us, you know, they've had a very successful show, and we do quite a lot of follow-up. And that's Asia Fruit Logistica as well as Fruit Logistica. So just to separate them, when you're talking about Asia Fruit Logistica, that's when you're really honing in on 20 key Asian markets, whereas Fruit Logistica in Berlin, it's not about the German market. As you've heard Lotte saying, you know, she meets all her clients there from North Africa and South America. It's 140 distinct markets that go to the show.
So I know the answer to this because we were talking about investment, and but I'm going to throw it out to everyone on this panel. Is there funding available to help you get to Fruit Logistica? Anyone?
It's a bit of a sad thing that New Zealand is actually one of the only countries that doesn't get government subsidies to help their SMEs to enter the markets, you know, by profiling themselves at trade fairs, which has been shown to be the #1 way to enter new markets. So occasionally we will get some support from NZTE, but we do need more subsidies and we do need government support. And I know Export NZ is lobbying hard for that, because this is what exporters keep saying is they want that support, because it means that other countries have got such a leg up ahead of us in terms of, you know, they may be only paying for 40% of their costs and the rest is all covered. We don't have that luxury. No subsidies in New Zealand. Sorry, Kylie.
Sarah, I know you were going to jump in there.
Yeah, so we at Asia Fruit Logistica, we're part of the New Zealand Pavilion, and this is something I would highly recommend new exporters looking at going to Asia Fruit Logistica to look at taking part in, because it's a very cost-effective way of having your own stand at Asia Fruit Logistica. Up until this year, NZT were funding half the cost of that for exporters, but as of this year, unfortunately, that has stopped. However, I would say it's still a cost-effective way of exhibiting at Asia Fruit Logistica.
So that's a bit of a shout out, Lotte.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that for the first time, if you want to exhibit at Berlin Fruit Logistica, it absolutely makes sense to have a New Zealand pavilion. It allows you to send a smaller delegation and tag team it with other companies that are part of that pavilion. Even if New Zealand Trade and Enterprise are not in a position to fund or part fund that, it doesn't mean they can't help organise it. And certainly when you're on the ground in Berlin, New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, people are high in attendance. They're extremely helpful in getting you introduced to customers within your markets and other industry key contacts. So they're there, they're helping you. They're, it would just sort of make sense if there were enough companies within New Zealand that were new to Berlin Fruit Logistica that wanted to exhibit to get that experience, but join their forces together and have a New Zealand pavilion. It would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, as sort of Lotte mentioned earlier, there's a Morocco hall, or there's halls dedicated to countries and regions. There is no New Zealand space hall. We have New Zealand companies, but there is no real presence. And so this is a massive, massive shout out to the government, to have a think about how do we support, New Zealand companies having a bit of a footprint, particularly when you're talking about a country like New Zealand that is massive in the primary sector of horticulture, and we have a massive footprint, yet we don't have a huge representation at the largest trade show in the world in Berlin. And so it is definitely something to think about. And I know we did historically, but let's not snooze or fall asleep behind the pedal here. It's a good chance for us to go forward. And look, I think it's actually great because it gives a bonding experience in New Zealand companies to support each other while in one of the largest markets around. And as Erin said earlier, it's the doorway to massive markets throughout the world. So why would we not smack a giant flag there and claim a bit of land? So thank you for that. Now let's say that we've done the event, we've lined up our meetings, we're all meetinged out because we're exhausted. Post event, post Fruit Logistica, I know you have a to-do list. I'm going to start with you, Sarah, on this one. What is on your post-event to-do list?
A lot of follow-up. I guess for us, it always gives us a good idea of where opportunities lie. So it's about what do we need to do to ensure that we can realise those opportunities. So that can often be going out to our growers and saying, hey, our customers want to do more, or there's this opportunity for us to do this, and really how can we make that happen so that we can realise those opportunities, and just keeping the dialogue going with the customers, obviously. So those are really the main things for us.
Awesome. What about you, Lotte? What's on your, after you've had a good sleep, put your poor feet up, what is on your to-do list for post-event?
Yes, sleep. Usually what's on my to-do list is that I jump on another plane to somewhere else within Europe. And then I start to line up all the follow-up meetings with the top of the pole of the leads. We start splitting them out and assigning an owner within our sales team, of course, and then we start generating all of those follow-up meetings. And there's always going to be a lot of follow-up work to do with our existing customers and known customer targets as well. We then start to sit down and actually working out what KPIs were met and how we actually fared. So we go through a whole qualifying process of investigating all of those leads, which, by the way, during Fruit Logistica, we will capture leads in a number of different ways. There's obviously visitors to our stand, there's business cards, but you'd be surprised that actually a lot of people do not carry business cards. So unless you're targeting a large global company like a seed producer or a berry breeder, they're likely to carry cards, but a lot of the growers don't. They also don't use email a lot. So you want to make sure you get their WhatsApp numbers. This year, Fruit Logistica had an app that allowed you to scan the badge. That was really useful. Not everyone carries their badges still, so you still need to, but also the challenge with that is that when you don't have a business card, you can't write down notes. And you will meet so many people that you will not be able to remember what conversation you had with each simply based on a name. So you need to make some very detailed notes about every conversation that you have at the time. As soon as that conversation is finished, you make your notes, because otherwise you just won't remember. And also, you're not the only person talking to customers, right? So when there's 7 of you on the stand and you're getting leads coming in from product and marketing people or the EA, you won't know what conversation has been had with those customers. It's really important to have very detailed notes about every person that visits your stand. So we start to filter through all of that. That's a big exercise for us. We then also provide some insights and a sort of summary of how the trade fair has gone to our marketing team, who then creates a blog. We also follow up with the journalists that we've met with during the event. We always try and invite them to our stand beforehand. We've got some pretty strong relationships over the years with the players from Vertical Daily, Lotte Daily, Fruitnet, all of those industry publications. So we follow up with them as well. They may have asked us for additional information about something we've launched, or some pictures if they weren't able to get their camera guy around to our stand at the time. So we follow up with those so that they can do all of their post-event work. And then we get cracking on the actual work on our pipeline and marketing.
Brilliant. I mean, there's some good gold in there, and yeah, you're right. With multiple conversations going on, there's there's quite a bit to do. And look, I think it is it is another highlight. This isn't just a 1 week thing. There's a lot of work that goes in, whether it's Asia or Berlin, that you have to do in the lead up, the during, and the post event. So what do they say? It's like a gym membership, right? You get out of it what you put in. And, Lotte mentioned making sure you become a guest speaker, a speaker on the tech stage. You connect with media, you connect with a whole bunch of people. So it is a real proactive activity, and you can't just sort of sit back and think they will all come joyously to you and you'll be rolling in the currency later on. So that's really good. Let me just have a look here. Oh, okay. Thank you. I was just just saw one of the questions that have come through from Apple and Pears New Zealand, that if anyone is interested in joining a New Zealand pavilion at Asia Fruit 2025, to get in touch with them. So we are happy to share contact details after this for anyone that wants to join the pavilion wagon. And look, if we can get a pavilion for Berlin, that would be brilliant as well. So, and I don't know actually, because I remember pre-COVID, they had a waiting list to exhibit in Berlin, and it was like a couple of years long. It was not a simple matter. Erin, is it the same now? Like if I decided tomorrow that I wanted to exhibit at Berlin in February, can I get a stand?
Oh, please don't do that, Kylie. My stress levels will be through the roof. Look, sometimes there's a cancellation and you could potentially get in that way, but Fruit Logistica, because it is the leading show worldwide, it's where everyone just has to be. You need to get in early. And I think actually the way that WayBeyond got into the show was by going to Asia Fruit Logistica to get a foot in the door. So there's all these ways that companies have sort of got themselves in there, but you need to be in early. The only company I've seen it do it really well last minute was Hector, and they worked around the clock to make it happen, and we were still like really nervous for them. I would say, you know, if you're going to a show like Fruit Logistica, go as a visitor the first time, because it's 26 halls. They're on multiple levels. Be really intentional about what you want to achieve, what you want to see. Are you there for benchmarking your own product? Are you trying to find collaboration partners? When you're at the show, enter every innovation award that you can, because that means that if you're a finalist, you are automatically part of the innovation tours that are led around daily. So you're going to get really, really good leads that way. But the best thing you can do is get in touch with the German Chamber and talk to us early, because we can talk to you about, okay, work with your budget, really try to make it as realistic as possible. If you're not ready for market and we really feel that you're not ready to go, we will tell you. But, you know, like, you've got at Asia Fruit Logistica, you have got that New Zealand pavilion, and that is managed so well by Plant and Food and Apples and Pears. So they do an amazing job of putting that together, and you are really looked after. So they have this fantastic wharenui. So it's very, very New Zealand, with like meeting rooms and you know, everything's going to be displayed in a beautiful way. If you go with your own stand, you know, you can really go crazy. I mean, we've seen stands with like full trees on the middle of the stand, you know, where you can just go pick your apples and things, which is really cool. So you can really, it's up to you, the limit of your imagination, but we can help you to keep it realistic. And in Germany, we work with a company called NZ Hub. So they're a Kiwi German company. And if you can't bring 7 people to the show, because it's a lot of airfares, they will actually go and be your extra people to walk the show, or to do all your leads follow up, or whatever you need. So that can be a really cost effective way of getting around having to bring a lot of people with you. So just talk to us early, and we'll help point you in the right direction of who you need to talk to.
Awesome. And look, again, I think it is one of these opportunities, if you can collaborate together, if you can maybe exhibit with a partner, you know, 2 companies getting together and maybe splitting a stand, you know, whatever works for you. I think if you can at least get your foot in the door. We have friends now. I've made new friends, and I'm not even an exhibitor. I made new friends at Berlin this year. So, you know, there's always ways that we can look at trying to make it work. But, you know, I have to say that the beautiful thing I really enjoyed was the events that happened where, for example, we got to go to the New Zealand ambassadors' residence for drinks together as a Kiwi crew. Excuse me. And Plant and Food put on drinks at their stand. So the Kiwis bonded together, which was really awesome. Looking at, just checking some time there, is there anything that you want to kind of mention, Sarah, that we haven't talked about already?
No, I was just going to follow up on a couple of points that have been made just around the New Zealand Pavilion in Hong Kong. First of all, a big shout out to Plant and Food and New Zealand Apple and Pears for the amazing work they do putting that together, especially Yvonne and Jan. The other, I was also going to mention about the networking events that are available before the fair, whether it be an NZTE event, or there was a big networking event the Tuesday night in Hong Kong this year. Plant and Food put on drinks. You really should make the most of going to those events, because you'll meet someone who will give you some valuable advice or a bit of information. So just really make the most of those and try and attend as many as you can. Also at the New Zealand Pavilion, you get a lot of the NZTE BDMs, the business development managers, are often hanging around that area, and you'll get companies come to the reception area and say, hey, I'm interested in this product, can you point me in the right direction? So you get a lot of leads through the NZTE BDMs who are there as well, and that's just a real added bonus that you get as being part of the New Zealand Pavilion as well. So those were just really the key points that I wanted to make.
Awesome. What about you, Lottie? Any extra pearls of wisdom you want to drop in there?
I think if you're going to, rather than as an exhibitor, but as a visitor, to try and fill your pipeline, there's a couple of little things that you can do. We have mentioned this before. You will be walking a lot. So it's not just about bringing one pair of comfortable shoes, but you actually need 2 different pairs of comfortable shoes, because just wearing the same pair 2 days in a row when you're constantly on your feet and standing, it can be really hard. But also a little tip is that quite often when you turn up to a stand for someone that a company that sits in your target market, the person that you want to talk to may not actually be available because, as we've mentioned before, their schedule may already be full. So it can be really hard to do your elevator pitch to your target customers. But what you can do is you can obviously grab their brochures. They will often have contact details in there because they want their customers to contact them. But also you can sneakily leave your business cards on tables so that when the people that are manning the stand at the end of the day, they gather up all of the business cards that have been sort of left there through pre-arranged meetings. They think you already had a meeting and they will reach out to you. So that's a little tip that has worked for us in the past as a new company targeting customers. Another thing to be aware of is that you are attending a trade fair in Berlin in the middle of winter. It is going to be cold. Obviously, the trade show itself is heated when it starts. When you go there the 2 days beforehand to check if you're exhibiting, and you do need to go there 2 days beforehand to check, because for the last 2 years, our branding has been the wrong way around, or the screen wasn't working, or it was missing cables, the fridge hadn't been delivered. There's always something that you need to go and check up on so that it can be fixed before the trade show starts. It is absolutely freezing. You need winter boots, hats, scarves, gloves, jackets, like the whole shebang for a Northern European winter. You're likely to get snow outside. And so bringing lots of layers with you that, you can bring your suit jacket with you to the trade fair, maybe some more dressier shoes, but as soon as you leave the trade show, you need to be prepared for that, and during the building of the stands as well.
I'm loving the sneakiness of the leaving the business cards on the table. And I tell you, Lottie's full of sneaky, because I know that one year Lottie was speaking on the tech stage.
I know what you're going to say.
And, and another speaker failed to turn up. And so there was this 5-minute emptiness, and Lottie decided she'd grab the microphone, jump on stage and keep going and do a second spiel to the audience who was sitting there. And it's looking for opportunities. I mean, Sarah said before, you've got to take advantage of all the opportunities you have. It is 1 week, people. Don't worry about sleep. Just network your brains out and take advantage of it. Because again, it's a lot of money that you're going to spend, and you need to sort of talk to as many people as possible and take those cards and drop your cards and and see where you can get some good business done. So yeah, I love a good sneaky, and Lottie's got some good sneaky tricks there. Although that that's not to say that all these tables are suddenly going to be flooded by Kiwi businesses leaving their business cards behind next time around, but we'll see. Yeah. What about you, Erin? Any sorry, Lottie.
I just make one comment about getting a speaker slot. I would highly recommend that you reach out to Fruit Logistica if you are going to exhibit and ask for a speaking slot. Don't wait to be invited. There are so many exhibitors and there are so many companies that they can choose between. But if you have a really strong value proposition, or you are launching a new product or something that's really innovative or unique to the market, reach out to them and ask for that speaker slot, and ask again and again and again. Last year we had 2 speaker slots because we asked for them.
Awesome. And this goes back to my thing about this: no time to be humble at these events. Kiwi humble does not cut it. in a global marketplace, you need to really step up and show what you're worth. I describe it as reverse tall poppy syndrome. You know, none of that tall poppy syndrome here. We're all about actually getting out there and singing from the rooftops about, you know, what we've got to offer, and actually supporting each other. So, you know, that is really good. Yeah, if you want it, go for it, and don't sit around and wait for someone to hand it to us just because we're really nice people, because you know, it doesn't necessarily always work that way. Erin, have you got any final thoughts as well?
Yeah, possibly just with, you know, the follow-up with the show, you know, so you're there at the show, it's 3 very, very long days. One thing you can be getting your New Zealand team to be doing is to start immediately following up. So once you prioritize them into your priority customers and then your second tier, you know, based on your ICP, have things ready to go, you know, like with a one pager, and this is what we want to do with you, because every single person that you talk to at that show is visiting thousands of other exhibitors as well. So the sooner you can get onto those leads, the better. And then one thing Sarah mentioned before about, you know, you're going all the way to Asia for Asia Fruit Logistica and you're trying to pre-book those meetings. So next year, for the first time ever, with Asia Fruit Logistica, there is going to be what's called a China business meetup, and it's a delegation trip. So it's almost like Asia Fruit Logistica on a small scale, but very specifically targeted at the Chinese market. So AFL, Asia Fruit Logistica, is the 3rd to the 5th of September next year. And then it moves to Guangzhou in China from the 8th to the 9th. So you've got a little bit of a buffer if you've got some more meetings in Hong Kong or in the area that you want to get to. But it's going to be delivering a lot more value in terms of you're going to have a lot more B2B opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you. Because if you didn't have enough, now you want to go to a 3rd Fruit Logistica show. There you go. There's your opportunity. But yeah, look, I can't reiterate what a really good opportunity it is for anyone who is in the horticulture market. Because yeah, you know, you're never going to get the opportunity to have so many countries and so many people in one location all at once. In order to reach out to them. So look, I'm going to wrap it up there, but I just want to thank all of my awesome panelists for taking some time to share your knowledge and your wisdom with everyone else who's watching. Again, a big shout out to the German New Zealand Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this event, and of course my friends at Messy Berlin and Fruit Logistica. Hopefully one day I will see you again at another event, because yeah, really great team over there. And yeah, for anyone watching, if you have any further queries, feel free to reach out. We will be sending the recording out to everyone so you can watch this all over again and take some copious notes, because we know you're all going to want to do it. And I will put some links in as to anyone interested in the Asia Fruit Pavilion, of who you can get in touch with as well in that email that we will send out after this. So thank you again, guys, and we look forward to the next one, hopefully. Thank you.